Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Girls for Greatness podcast. As always, you guys, it is such a huge honor to have you here today. I am coming at you today with kind of a special episode. This is episode number 150. It's hard to believe that actually at this point in time that we've gone through 150 episodes, but I am so excited to be coming at you today with another inspiring warrior who is out there leaving their mark on this world in their own unique way. Today, I am joined by Marin Davis. Marin is the owner and founder of Local Collaborative, an amazing agency that provides small businesses with the marketing they need to succeed. Marin has worked professionally in marketing since 2014, and she has worked with many well-known professionals and brands, but she's decided to start her own agency after marrying an Army man, where she knew she was going to be required to move often. Marin had a dream to collaborate with talented professionals she worked with during her years in the advertising and marketing industry, and she has now built a successful career where she and her team bring relief to small business owners by taking themselves and, excuse me, you guys, by taking the stress and overwhelm of social media marketing off their plate. So you guys, I am so thrilled to have Marin here. Marin, welcome to the Girls for Greatness podcast. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yay. It was a lot to read and try and remember. So thank you for being patient with that.
Oh, I've done it and I still can't remember it all. So
I know. And I was looking at my writing being, wait a minute, don't you hate it when you can't read your own writing? You're just like, what? I know. So tell us a little bit about you, where you're at right now in the world, and yeah, just a little bit about your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So after graduating college in 2015, we immediately moved up to my husband's first duty station outside of Seattle, Washington. Since then, we're now in our third duty station outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And I just had this feeling that I needed something that was easy to move around with. And I was passionate about marketing. I just loved every job that I had. So I decided, you know what, no matter, even if I make no money, this is what I want to do with my life. This is what I love doing. So I just decided to start whenever I was in Washington. And ever since then, it's just grown and evolved. We were working from home before COVID hit. So that was an easy transition for us. And I think that really helped put into place everybody's impression of like how important social media was. Before then, I think people had a really hard time justifying a budget for something that was online, because we were used to using social media as a social platform where you just hopped on and connected with friends. And here people started being the influencers or the YouTubers, and people were like, oh, I actually need ads and good writing and good reels and TikToks, and to focus efforts into social media because it's so important.
That's so true. That's so true. So tell me a little about how you decided to kind of leave the marketing position that you were at and kind of dive into doing your own thing. Like, I know we kind of talked about that when we had talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago about, your inspiration behind even wanting to branch off on your own.
Yeah. So I was probably 22, 23 at the time. So of course, trying to just find jobs that I was passionate about and liked doing. I started out whenever we went to Washington, and being a business owner never really crossed my mind. No one in my family really did that. So my first job officially was selling insurance, which was absolutely terrible. Never in my life. Like, bless them. I had a couple good people I worked with. I will never do that again. And then that transition, a friend of a friend needed a marketing manager for his company. And so I was working with him for about a year and a half. And whenever that ended, it didn't end great. And I was under the impression that I was getting a promotion and that things would go in this really great direction. I showed all of my ideas. I had created all of these sellable objects for them. And then they said, we're actually not going to give you the promotion. We're actually letting you go. And it was on my birthday. And it was,
oh my gosh,
it was a whole thing. And so that was also my turning point of, I liked marketing, but I just couldn't work for someone else anymore. And I really liked the thing I did really like from that job was, as leadership, they didn't have set days like vacation days that you had. As long as you did your work, okay, cool, go do what you want. So I have brought that into my agency. And I think just as much as you learn what you don't like, you learn what you do like. And both are very important as you move into different leadership roles or hiring different people onto your team and through your different phases of life as well. So
that's awesome.
I was winging it.
You're winging it.
Yeah, lots of Google.
And what year did you start Local Collaborative?
So that was so that was probably 2016. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So what was your biggest challenge in that transition, you think?
My biggest challenge, honestly, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but I think it's the mindset. It has been, and that's definitely changed each year that I've been in business because I've changed as a person. I started out as a young 20-something-year-old, and now I'm a mom of a toddler, and we've moved a couple times, and now I realize no matter what, even if I have 0 clients, like my family needs this flexibility for me. And for every challenge that we've come across. So it started out, if I had someone who told me no, if I had someone who would barter with me on price, I was more about closing the deal than I was. So I would accommodate and make them happy and work for way more than I was charging for, just because I wanted to stay busy. I was a workhorse. And then once I got pregnant, that was March 20. So I got pregnant. We found out in January 2020, March 2020, everything shut down.
Right.
So through that whole year in transition, we were also moving here. It was just so much attention into our life that I increased my prices. I stopped bartering. I said, here's my price. And I do like to customize the packages as much as I can. But there's a difference between customizing and tailoring things to fit somebody and then also disintegrating your worth. If they don't find value in it, then there are plenty of people I can refer them to. I have no problem doing that at all. But I said, this is the price that's worth taking me away from my family. Basically, like it is either I'm focused on my computer right here or I'm on the floor spending time with my son.
Right.
So it was that balance that I was just kind of looking for in clients. It's been a whirlwind of a difference.
That's amazing. Now, I know we talked about this too, but you don't just work yourself, right? It's not just you that's working with all of these companies.
Correct. So it was for a while.
Yeah.
And then whenever I moved here, that's when I was like, yes, having my son showed me I need people.
Yeah.
And so my goal and the way that the agency has worked, I always had the word collaborative in it, which I know is really long and it's a hard, big word, but I've always brought in people on different projects depending on what the client needs. So now we have some more full-time people, and then we will bring in some different specialists if the client needs it. That's what I've really enjoyed about working in the industry, and through internships or different jobs, you meet so many different people that you can plug and play. Yeah. So we have like an SEO specialist, or we have someone who helps with graphics. We have someone who helps with website development and coding. And then I mainly focus as the client facing, and I do a lot of the work in the client accounts, but I can have some help, and
that's awesome.
Have too. Yeah.
So they're kind of paid like as needed, on an as needed basis, because not every client is obviously going to need the services of everybody.
Correct. Yeah. And that's been the plus side of also hiring a lot of other military spouses who that's a big goal of mine, to keep them working. That's what I wanted to do. And it's hard when you move every 2 or 3 years, you don't get the promotions. It's very, very easy to fall to the wayside. And for people who want to work, some people only want to work 5-10 hours a week. And so I know their workload and communication. I'm huge on communication. If they're busy, if they're moving, if something's happening, the rest of the team's able to pick up the slack. And maybe sometimes I'm in a season where I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. They can help me and pick up more of the slack as well. So it's really great.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you've taken that, just where you're at in your circumstances and the people, and, because I think that's another thing we had talked about too, is that, in your position being in the military and moving, that's got to be so tough for anyone to hold down any, job. And like you said, move up. So I think that's amazing that you've drawn other people and are bringing them, along with along with you in your journey. I love that. So two questions that kind of came to mind when you were talking was, one, how, and I'm sure you run across this because you're a woman and you're working with other small businesses and, other women that might be owning those businesses. But, what are some of the things that you've learned about just, our ability to kind of handle business and family life? I mean, because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with I don't work outside the home, I do this and some other things, but I'm saying I have a lot of friends who are trying to juggle it all and it's daunting.
You do what I just did. You just laugh.
Yeah, right.
So we are currently in an 8-month deployment for my husband. And it's always a joke that during the deployment, the cars will always break down. They always have. It happened as soon as he left. Something will always happen. And we have 2 dogs, the house, my son, we have a lot of life going on. So that was the other point about whenever I raised my prices, I was staying up until 1 a.m. At that point, he was still little. So you're getting up every couple hours. I wasn't even having fun anymore, but I wanted to go to work out for the clients and they were depending on me. So it was a lot of finding balance with that and being really okay with, the more that, he was changing his sleep schedule every several weeks. And then that was always my priority. And so most of the time I wasn't starting work until 8 p.m. because I truly didn't understand how they say, like, what'd you do today? And technically, even if you didn't do anything, you were busy all day long.
So true.
I tried to work with the schedule as much as I could, taking advantage of, a couple of times a week. It's very important for me to stay physically active and working out. So I made sure no matter what, even if that took like work time, I don't always have to be productive. I can have my time and go focus on that. And that made me feel better and less resentful whenever I was working in any other aspect of my business. It's also, we don't live around any family to help with childcare. It's very hard to find sitters that have worked out for our family. And I think that through all of those struggles, I've just had to give myself so much grace. And some days expect 0 from yourself, even though like, what was the best thing that you did today? I was like, well, he was laughing at this. I got a testimonial, or the days where you're like, you know what, it's kind of slow. 3 emails came through. I just, right before we hopped on, I had like 3, I'm running a sale right now for people's Instagram takeovers. Yeah. And I had 3 people just DM to pay and I had 2 go through already. So I was like, why does this always happen on the busiest days? It just comes to you when it comes to you. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. I great tips in there. And I can totally relate. And I think you're definitely, from one woman to another who's been there and had younger kids, that you're on the right track in terms of just giving yourself that grace and realizing that, you have to work in things when you can, if you're finding yourself in that situation. And just the fact that you're prioritizing yourself and your own health. I mean, that was a huge thing for me too. Being active. If I wasn't doing that on a consistent basis, I was really struggling. Like you said, to not be angry.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, I'm sure with you growing up as an athlete, you needed that to also bring it back to yourself. And I think my mindset changed to, it's not just me taking care of him. It's me hanging out with him. I spend that time and I'm not always, my mindset really, really shifted through, I am not failing if I don't have XYZ. I am doing a great job. And I mean, that took a lot of therapy. That took a lot of time. It really takes a lot whenever if people are into, like the type 3, I'm very much a type 3. If people are into that, I am like all the way dead set, no wings, nothing, like type 3. And so it's very difficult for me to, my husband always says, he's like, you are so hard on yourself. I'm like, I'm not, this is how it needs to be.
Yes.
Well, yes. I can also, it's okay to acknowledge when you accomplish good things. It's not like
so
cocky or anything.
Yeah. We're very much the same. And I'm a type 2. So I definitely can relate to what type 3 is.
Yeah.
I'm a hard 2. So, I get that. And that's That's amazing. I think that's great advice for anyone out there that's, home with kids or just trying to do their business on the side. And I love that you focus in on small businesses, on, those businesses where maybe, it is someone at home and they're trying to be a parent and they're trying to build something from the ground up. And tell me a little bit about like that whole process and how you've come across those clients and just, yeah, all of that whole journey.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of the local part of our name. Whenever I was
Mhm.
thinking of my business, I wanted to give the local business feel no matter where we were at. It
Mm,
wasn't just be people from my hometown. I'm not going to be there for, 20 years. I
right,
won't ever have a biography that says I was in a place for 25, 30
right.
years. Much like my family, they haven't moved, they haven't left, and
Yeah.
they have that rapport back home. So how I've come across them lately is honestly, it's social media. It
Mm,
is joining different groups, whether I've gone in person a couple times with, depending on my schedule, to networking groups. A lot of people find me on social media. So that's always including your location or switching your location around. It's not just always putting Nashville, Tennessee, because how crowded is that going to be? You're going to get bachelorette parties with cow pants.
right.
So put in put in the specific places where if my target audience is a small business owner, where are they eating? Where are they shopping?
Right.
Where are they going? And kind of narrow in and disperse your locations. That's okay. And then also, and I want to say hashtags, but look how much that's already changed in like
Mm,
6 to 12 months.
right.
So always going with different location tags or tags, whatever I'm posting about, very relevant. So if I'm talking about branding, then I have branding hashtags. If I'm talking about
Mm,
content creation, I'm never going to put like dog lovers of IG or deep cleaning TikTok, because I'm not deep cleaning in my video, and that doesn't make sense, and you get punished for that. Just because it's trending does
right.
not go on your post. So really focusing in on that. And that was always my dream. I loved when I worked at the advertising agency, we were working on like Cuties, Panda Express, big national brands
Mm,
that had huge budgets. And I think that I wanted that kind of creativity, attention, writing experience to give it to a small business owner. So we've worked with,
mm,
it's really 50-50 between people starting up and they need everything from a brand
mm.
foundation, a brand kit, a logo, to people who have been in business for 5-10 years. Maybe they have a decent following and they're a really strong like standpoint in their neighborhood. And so we've worked with them to, everything needs to be revamped, and you need to show that you're adapting. You still need to be posting. You can't just focus on, well, most of our business is referrals and word of mouth. Yes, but when you get referred and they're going to attach the Instagram profile or tag Facebook so people go there, like it's still an important piece of your business.
Right. Right. That's awesome. I love that. That's some great tips in there too. Um, how do you think, gosh, a couple of questions I could ask here, but how do you think, marketing, has changed over these last 2 years with COVID and just, I mean, just hearing you talk about Instagram, it, and you're on there and I know you know it more, but it just like makes my head spin. Like, I feel like sometimes I just cannot keep up. Like I even said to somebody, I'm like, how do they do that again? Where the words come across? And I was like, she's like,
Yes.
I was like, I'm like, I should know these kinds of things sometimes, but I'm like, I feel like sometimes the whole media piece can be so overwhelming. There's so many
Yeah.
platforms. And what I've done personally is I feel like I've narrowed in on two and I'm like, that's my two. And I'm not going to worry about LinkedIn or some of the other things. So,
Yeah.
and that's not for everybody, but I'm curious to
Mm-hmm.
know those two things, like how, like maybe marketing, how media has that changed and shifted. I mean, over these last 2 years. I mean, I feel like more people are online now probably than ever.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that you are right on the right track. That's exactly what I encourage people to do, is focus on 2 or 3 platforms, because you don't have to be everywhere. That all that's going to do is draw you super thin. Well,
Yeah.
company's doing this. Yeah, they have a team of 20, 50 people. So and that's a big part of your audience research whenever you're building your brand, is
Mm,
if your audience is 40 to 50-year-olds, is TikTok the best place for you to be? If your audience is 18 to 25-year-olds and you're doing handmade scrunchies, yeah, then let's get on TikTok and let's use these different ways to go about it. And honestly, that's how I felt about TikTok for a long time. I was so like, I had so much work on my plate already. I was like, I don't care. I brought on my cousin who was working in communications in college. And I was just like, I will pay you, post my videos for me, just do it for me. I don't even want to learn it at this point. And now I've kind of had more time where I can get in and just doing it, just learning it, to be able to connect with that side of my audience. But honestly, I've just, from doing it for a couple of years, I've seen that Instagram and Facebook are still my two biggest platforms where people will message me to start working. So it can be trial and error. And that's why we do monthly insights. So if someone out there is working for their own business and they're not ready to outsource marketing yet, look at your insights every 30 days or so, and your days are going to adjust. Your best times are going to adjust. And if you're stagnant, then that's a way to leverage, by looking at your insights, where you can grow and how you can grow. And well, why are they on at night? Well, their moms, it's after bedtime and they want some time for themselves. Get to know your audience, but and that's how you grow your accounts, the better that you can reach them.
That's true. That's true. That's great advice. Yeah, that's great advice. So what would be like some of your top tips of advice to like someone who's out there who's, either got their own business, small business, or they're, just starting, or like what are some things that because you've had so much experience in this field now, what are some of the things that you would say, like, okay, I would do these 3 things?
Yeah. Oh, that fires me up. Okay. So I think my Instagram and everything will be linked in like your show notes.
Yeah.
So people are always sharing weekly. I'm sharing tips on my Instagram and on my accounts.
Yeah.
You might see, like, I might share the same thing 5 times a year, but it's going to find you when you're looking for it. So my top things right now, number 1 would be the aesthetic of your profiles and your feed. That does not mean that it has to look perfect. That does not mean that it has to be a specific fancy pattern. That just means that everything needs to be branded. So colors and fonts are the same. If you're a photographer, an artist, then obviously like your filters, everything like that should look cohesive and the same. And no memes. Stop screenshotting memes, people, and posting them on your Instagram feed. So it's just something that what we're doing is making you look like the authority in your field that you are. People know this is my first impression of you, and they're going to look at your profile multiple times before they follow. They're going to follow multiple times and like some posts before they buy. So before you even know that they're interacting with you, they're watching you. So what I would do is we call it optimizing your bio. And that's what I'm doing for people right now. That does include some SEO, that includes some of your search in your captions on your images. So now you're supposed to put your hashtags in your captions for Instagram, because that's where they search. You're not supposed to put them in the comments. So in your caption, that's also the keywords and phrases that your audience is searching for. So maybe I know it's called SEO. Maybe I know that the technical term for this is whatever it might be, but that's not the search term that my audience is using, because that's my job to educate them on that piece of marketing. So, yes, aesthetics, like optimize your bio. If you've been in the field for 12 years, put 12 years experience in social media marketing. Give us that authority statement so we feel comfortable with you and we feel safe with you. Second is the types of content that you're sharing. So everything from the words and the hashtags, switching it to you language. So instead of I can do this, this, and this for you, change it to you will get this, this, and this. Change it as much as you can on your website and socials to you language. And I rotate through, I talk about this a lot as well, but I rotate through 4 different content pillars, and you'll see a lot of people vary from 3 to 4, but across the industry, everybody does this. So engaging, educating, entertaining, selling. Always do the first 3 before you sell. And if you rotate through that, I think that helps people with creating content as well. Because half the time it's, what do I write? What do I post about? Well, you have all the information. We have it right there. It's just putting it into a plan to be able to post it and put it out there. So that's number 2. And then number 3, man, okay. If I had to choose number 3, I would putting the social back in social selling. So we all grew up. I mean, Facebook came out when I was in, I think, high school. I don't remember. I remember hearing Facebook. I thought it was the weirdest word ever. But again, thought TikTok was weird too. So, but going back to whenever you would go home from school and you message the people you just saw all day long, do that. Give yourself 10 minutes, or you can do the 10-10-10 rule. So go through your highlights at the top of your feed, and through 10 of them, interact with your people. Go through the first 10 on your feed and leave a meaningful comment to the people in your feed. What this does, especially around the times that you post, they're going to get the notification. And then the people that you are interacting with the most, that's how Instagram populates who's you're seeing first in your feed. And yes, now they're doing the chronological, or you can choose the way you want to accept your feed. But for the most part, and I think most people are still on this unless you've manually changed it. Once you interact with people, they're like, oh, Marin and the Girls for Greatness podcast really interact a lot. They comment on each other's stuff all the time. So when they log in, that's going to be the first person that we're going to see. So that's why you run into, man, you know what? I was talking to this company for 3 months and now I don't see anything about them. We'll scroll through. They're probably number 20, 25 now. So it's just as important to interact with other people as it is why am I getting no engagement? Well, you need to also engage with people that the platform works.
Yeah. That's a great tip. That's a great tip. And you're right. I've noticed that big time, and it works the same for the, for stories and highlights, right? I mean, who you engage with the most, because every time I come, it's usually the same ones will be at the top. But and that's true. I almost feel with Facebook in the sense that I have already started to question whether some of the people I know are even on there anymore, because I never see their posts, because I just, I'm not typically scrolling a ton on there anyway, but still if you're not engaging with them, or they're not, you're not, it's not going to show up. So it's always I guess that's the way it works, but
yeah, absolutely. And I know it can feel so time consuming, but honestly, that can be the most fun part of it. Just seeing what other people, going to your hashtags. And if I typed in marketing tips, then sometimes I'll click on that and I'll interact, because I also learn from other people in different industries. And it's okay to interact with other people who are like you, because again, that's my referral network. If I just don't have the bandwidth to take someone on, or if they need something specific, I'm like, you know what, this person's really, really good in this field. Let me connect you guys. And that makes you that makes you an authority in your field as well. You don't have to take everybody on to be the best. You just have to know the best place to direct them to.
That's true. That's true. That's great. One other question I had that just kind of popped up in my head before I wrap up, just the whole idea of, I'm losing my train of thought, of creating more engagement, and how to do that, like you said, with the hashtags and whatnot. But say even that, I think this is something that I've thought about, and something that I'm sure some of you listening may have thought about. If you're in a business or you have something that you're trying to do, is trying to set yourself apart. And I mean, I always tell people, even if what you want to do is something a podcast like I'm doing, there's so many out there, and there's so many options and so many choices. You have to always, I think, remember that your way of doing it is different than someone else's way. It's unique to you. So I always, try and drive that home, because I think a lot of people shy away from starting something or doing something that they really want to do, because they think, there's so many of that, or the market's saturated, or it's, how am I going to stand out? And I'm kind of curious what your advice would be with that.
Yeah, I think I've definitely felt that as well. Going from someone where I used to be a workhorse to now, I might have, last night I did bath night and I had something on my sleeve. I don't know what it was. And I'm like, man, but then you see somebody who you think is succeeding, but they're also, a single 22-year-old, and they have the time and the flexibility to get in and out of a car all day and can go film things. So I have to remind myself, to me, I've switched from thinking that finances are the only measure of success. To me, your time is the biggest measure of success. If I have enough time that I can no questions asked be available for all of our appointments, and I can focus in on people, and I have the time to take phone calls and develop. Like my goal of mine this year is to self-publish on Amazon. I had zero chance to do that last year. And this year, because of the way I've restructured my business and brought in some help, I have the time to do that. And that's going to bring in the residual income that I want and need. So that's one part. And then also I would say, and like how many people are online doing marketing? A ton.
Yeah.
But people, even between me and maybe 2-3 other people, even in this town, they all go to us for different reasons. If someone's budget hunting, they go to a specific person. If somebody wants a specific type of quality or even a specific look, if our styles are the same or different, they gravitate toward what they want and what they see. So putting out a variety of your work, and the more that I think that the way that I express my authority in the field is sharing a lot of education. And that's what puts me out different. They're like, well, you're going to tell all the secrets. They can do it themselves. I'm like, they might not have the budget to pay someone. So that's great if I'm helping them in that way. Then when they can, or they have a reference who can, that's fine. And it's the same reason why we shop at Target for something and at Walmart for something, right?
Right.
You go to different places for different reasons. And I would just say, meet people where they're at. If you have people that you're consistently turning away, and let's say it's a money thing, let's have them, give them a win in another way. What's that like $20-something value we can give them? What's that like a free email or a free discovery call with this? Let them win in some kind of way. And that usually will work out the best. And that's what we do. We'll offer, and we can always brainstorm something that makes sense for your specific product or service-based business. And make it really unique to your business, to make it shareable. If people want to take a photo of it and tag you and share it online, if they're excited about that, then word of mouth for your business. And that's going to bring in more of that clientele.
Yeah, that's great. Love that advice. Thank you for that. No, that's great. Makes a lot of sense.
Great.
God, there's so many other things I could ask, but for sake of time, I'm going to try and wrap up. I have a few questions. First one is, what are 3 words that best describe who you really and truly are?
Man. Okay. I would want to say inclusive. I want to say, what is it? Very like understanding, empathetic, relatable. And then I'd like to think I'm funny. So we'll see. When my family listens to this, we'll see what they say. But yeah, we'll see.
Oh, you are. Go follow her on Instagram, you guys, seriously, because she's got some great content, and it is funny.
I just have fun.
It's good. That's good. And my last question: how do you embody greatness in your own life?
I think that the thing I'm most proud of is how I've overcome that mindset shift to even tell myself that I'm great. I think giving ourselves compliments is really hard because we've grown up, whether it was in our generations or as females or what have you. I think we've grown up, well, bragging on yourself is this bad thing and you shouldn't do that. Stay humble. I think that you can be proud of yourself and still remain humble. So I would just define greatness as saying, I am great. I'm very capable of anything that comes at me. I can handle it. I got it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's one of the things we all lack so much, is the acknowledgement of ourself and what we've already done, instead of, constantly beating ourselves up for what we haven't, but taking that time to say, I'm here, I was here, and, look how far I've come. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marin. Thank you so much for being here. This has been really fun. And I love the tips that you gave. I took notes, and I know not everybody listening may not be in small business, but I know that there's something that I know I can always take that just applies to life itself. So thank you so much. And I love the work you're doing. And I will for sure have everything linked up. Yes, you bet. Thanks again.
Oh, thank you so much, Delia.